recording?
Yeah. All right. Okay, here's Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Edie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, me too. Very, very happy to say hello. And I never ask, how can I help you? Because I'm not Humpty Dumpty. I'm not putting people together. But I do ask, how can be useful to you? How's your life going? And I like to teach you how to be a good parent to yourself, because
Oh, she froze. I lost her.
of Dale Kramer and Russ Kimball, and just wonderful, wonderful people.
So Emily, let's wait just a couple more minutes, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Edie, I'm going to have my two boys wave to you, though. Jack and Adam, will you wave to Edie?
Where are they? Oh, no. That's...
I don't know if you can find them. It's under Joe is the name. Can you see the screen? There, keep waving, boys.
Oh, that is so funny. I'm not finding them.
Oh.
There are no boys waving here.
Keep
Stay on mute and say something. They'll show up.
They're with my husband too, so that could be throwing you off. But
you're not waiting for me, right?
Hi, Edie. Hi,
Hello,
Edie.
hi.
Joe.
There we are. There we are.
Yes, here. Okay, there we are. Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, it won't let me make you so she can see you. So hang on. Patience is really precious. Now there they are.
Okay.
That's boy.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
So Mort's
Grandchildren.
Yes.
Great-grandsons. Great-grandsons.
Great-grandson.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Okay.
You think we're ready to get started?
I think we should go ahead. People.
I like to tell the boys that your great-grandpa was a very good dancer. And I hope you will become a very, very good gentleman who can take a woman and just... See, on the dance floor, the man is the boss. The woman has to do everything backwards. But the man...
And in high heels.
And in high heels, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Emily's going to introduce you, Edie, and then we can get, you'll get asked some questions.
Okay, wonderful. So for there's some family on the call, if some of you haven't noticed, but for those of you that I don't know, my name is Emily Eichelberner, and I'm really honored to be able to welcome all of you to this very special conversation with Dr. Edith Eger. So as you may have been able to tell from our earlier conversation, I was very blessed to meet Dr. Eger more than 20 years ago when she married my grandfather back in 1999. And how perfect that she brought up his dancing, because in my intro, what I wanted to say was that Edie and my Bumba made beautiful dance partners until he passed away. But Dr. Eger is more famously known for her books, The Gift, and her best-selling memoir, The Choice. And in The Choice, she details her experience as a Holocaust survivor and a brilliant psychologist. And she shares her incredible wisdom on how to overcome challenges, love ourselves, and live life to the fullest, all of which she is an incredible role model for, which you'll hear today. And so to those of you on the call that are big fans of Dr. Eger's book, I am so glad that you are here. But I know there are a lot of teenagers on this call who have never heard Dr. Eger's story. So I want to especially thank all of you for dialing in on this Sunday afternoon. And I want you to know that this conversation is for you. And it's so meaningful to be able to connect you with Dr. Eger. She is so inspiring and possibly will be the only Holocaust survivor you will ever meet. So next to me today is my Learfield, who is the extraordinary leader of the Jewish Outreach Initiative here in Denver. And
Wait, Emily, so you can introduce Sarah again, because you blocked out for a moment. Tell us Sarah's name again.
Okay, Sarah Learfield. And Sarah is the extraordinary leader of the Jewish Outreach Initiative here in Denver. And she's a big fan of Edie's, and she has led book club discussions on your books, Edie, and she incorporates your lessons into her teachings. And so Sarah has graciously agreed to help facilitate the conversation and lead the questions from the teens that come in. So we'll have you start out, but then we want to encourage everyone to put any questions they have for Dr. Eger into the chat, and Sarah will make sure to answer them. But Edie, thank you so much for joining us today. This is so very special. And since many of the teens on the call have probably not read your book, we thought a great way to start would be if you could share your personal story, and starting when you were probably close to their age, a teenager.
Yes, I think it's very good for me to talk to you about how difficult it is to be a teenager, because you're not a child anymore and you're not an adult. So you're kind of in a limbo. And sometimes people treat you not really very appropriately, and they make you much younger, or they talk to you as if you already were an adult and understand all the sophisticated language like cognitive dissonance. And yet we are really talking today about how to go through the teenage years and become an adult. That means that you don't play the adult game with baby rules, because if you ask a child, why do you do this? The child would say, because I feel like it. Children don't care about consequences. As an adult, I still feel like it, but I don't act upon it unless it is in my best interest. So there is no freedom without responsibility. It's anarchy. So when I was a teenager, I like to tell you, first of all, that I am grieving not what happened, but the teenage years I never had, because I had to wear a yellow star and I was hiding it under my clothes. I didn't want to be really talked to as someone who is poison to society, because that's what I was told. Even when I was in Jewish school, when I came out, children were spitting at me and calling me a Christ killer. No one ever told me that Jesus was a poor little Jewish boy. So you have to question authority. And this is a good time. So when I was a teenager, I was in Auschwitz when I was 16. And all I had in mind is that if I survive today, then tomorrow I'm going to be liberated and I'm going to see my boyfriend, because we were going to go to Palestine. We had a lot of purpose in our way of being, and we were very strong Zionists. But unfortunately, he was killed the day before liberation. So that's why it's very hard for me to talk to you as a grandma, because any story I tell you, somebody dies, And so I just want you to know that we don't appreciate many times what we have until we lose it. And so I value every moment with teenagers because I want you to stay in school and I want you to work with the teacher and not to work with your something what you're going to do after school. And I can tell you that my mother saw me just kind of going nowhere, and she took me to a ballet school. And I had a wonderful ballet master, and I must tell you what he told me. He picked me up, and he said to me, God built me in such a magnificent way that all my ecstasy, I didn't know what that word meant, but all my ecstasy has to come from inside out. And that is so important because sometimes you just feel so alone. I used to ask in Auschwitz, does anyone know that I'm here? I'm here in hell because I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know whether I'm going to be thrown in a gas chamber. I didn't know whether water or gas is going to come out when we took a shower. It's a very, very interesting us to get together, me as a grandma, and asking you because I'm counting on you. You are the future. You are the ambassadors. See, love is not what you feel, it's what you do. And what you do, you commit yourself to something or someone other than yourself. So I hope your father is a very good role model to the children's mother. So I hope that your parents have a happy marriage because that's a good thing, that children learn from seeing and watching parents. And it's okay to fight as long as you fight creatively, that you can agree to disagree rather than when I'm right, you're wrong. And when I'm good, you're bad. And get rid of the us and them mentality because all we have is each other. So we can empower each other with our differences. That's what I'm all about. To do everything in my power. People ask me, how do you want to be remembered? That's a good question at 93, right? I'm going to be 94. It's a very good question. And I know I'm going to be very happy knowing, not asking what the world has given me, but in what way I could contribute to you and being a role model to you, to please pick up as many pieces of paper in America because more doors open up for you. Go get your PhD, go get your MD. Go. The further you go, the more choices you have.
Dr. Edie, can we ask you a question? Just thinking about your teenage years in Auschwitz and all the challenges that you went through, wearing the yellow star beforehand, and the struggles that the Jewish people went through during that time, and then beyond all the horrific experiences that have happened in our history and that you yourself have experienced. How do you look back at your life and not feel angry about everything that you went through? I mean, we as adults have challenges and painful things, and it hurts us, and where we feel slighted and a lot of disbelief and frustration. And teenagers also go through challenges that they never ask for, and they have so much frustration and anger. How do we move past that?
It's okay. It's okay to be angry. Anger is not a dirty word, but we either vent anger, suppress anger, and I'll teach you how to dissolve the anger. Because the longer you hold on to it, you suffer. See, when I'm angry at you, it's me who has to pay attention. What am I doing now? And is this empowering me or depleting me? I refuse to be a victim. I was victimized. It's not who I am. So there is no letting go until you go through the anger, through through that pain. And that's the work I do. It's grief. You grieve and you cry because what comes out of your body doesn't make you ill. What stays in there does. So if you're holding on the anger, see, you're still a prisoner.
So that's how you believe is the best way to work through those emotions, is to feel them and to acknowledge them, and
Exactly.
not to maintain that victim mentality.
So my definition of love is the ability to let go. Let go of the pain, let go of the fear. We're not born with fear. We're not born to be against. We are born to have joy and passion, and love conquers all. But falling in love is a chemical high that people get from chocolate. So don't think that when someone tells you I love you, that you're going to get married and you're going to have children, just like in a storybook. It doesn't work that way. You become an adult, emotionally and financially independent when you think of marriage. But being a teenager is very scary because you have to put on your curious little hat and see what's going to happen next, that you never ever consider taking your life. That can become very epidemic among the teenagers, and eating disorders and anorexia and bulimia and so on. So I want to do everything in my power that you think about your thinking, because what you think, you create. And get rid of two words, always, never. That's always happening to me. I'm never going to find a good friend. Always, never are dead-end words, absolutic words. Get rid of it. Just say, up till now I did this, and now I'm going to do something else. So there is no going back from the COVID. There is a new beginning. There is a rebirth. And I'm hoping that I can be a good person for people not going back, have a new beginning. So my name is not a shrink. My name is a stretch. So I want to stretch your comfort zone. The more choices you have, the less you feel like a victim. I am not a victim. I was victimized. It's not my identity. It's not who I am. It's what was done to me.
So what holds so many of us back from stepping outside our comfort zone, making those hard choices?
Fear. I remember one of the military men told me, that was many, many years ago, when someone went on the top of the Texas University and started to shoot. Just shoot. I don't know how many people died, but they're afraid of their own anger. People create a lot of fear, and fear and love does not coexist. So I think there is a good time for you to call someone and say, I've had it. I don't like what I'm going on through right now, and find a way to get things out. My daughter calls it the Edeism, and that's one of them. The opposite of depression is expression. What comes out of your body doesn't make you ill. What stays in there does. And I told nobody ever that I was in Auschwitz when I came to America, because I didn't speak a word of English, And I didn't share my secret because I just wanted to be a Yankee Doodle Dandy. I didn't want to speak English with an accent, God forbid. And I think I wouldn't do that today. But I think it's very, very important that if you have a secret, share it. And you find out that we are all in some ways wounded, that is handed down from generation to generation. One of the things
Come back.
years old in January, but she's going to tell you that she's 99 years old. Now, I don't know why 1 year makes a difference, but I have a feeling when she came to America and an agent asked, "How old are you?" Love me? Do that. It's good. It's good. Now, I know, Emily, that I call you a Renaissance woman. You have so many talents. I know that you were having your own stationery and all kinds of things. You have many talents. I know that.
The question. Yeah, so somebody did ask us a question, Dr. Edie, based on what we've just been talking about, so much of how the fear takes hold of us. When you were in Auschwitz struggling to survive every single moment, what tools did you employ? Maybe you didn't even realize that you were using them when you were in Auschwitz. What gave you the courage and the strength and the ability to push through and get through that horrific time and that, those, just for all of us, challenging experiences that we go through?
I am sure that you read when I was asked to dance for Dr. Mengele.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this, I went to a Jewish school and my teacher was with us. She somehow got through. She looked younger because anybody over 40, they automatically take them to the gas chamber. But she looked at me with her finger and said, "Go and do what you are asked to do." It was no question. I didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did, I closed my eyes and I pretended that I am in a Budapest opera house dancing.
Oh. Sorry, everybody. Thank you for holding tight.
Asking, does anyone knows I'm here? I felt so alone. It's like I was thrown out of the family as if I had done something wrong. But that's where I found love. I found love in Auschwitz because I was able to change hatred to pity. So people ask me, where was God in Auschwitz? With me. With me. Yes, God is love. I don't have time to hate. But there is no summer without winter. There is no life without death. We have to look at the thesis, the antithesis, and then the synthesis. So when you want to get married now, it's going to be very different than when I was young. And if I said I want to be a doctor, I was going to be told it's because you didn't find a husband. See, the goal was for me to find somebody, but for a boy to become somebody, a lawyer, a doctor, God knows. Very different messages. And you can rewrite that script now. So there is no going back from the COVID. There is a new beginning, a rebirth, a renaissance. And I hope you're going to be those ambassadors, because the teenagers I'm counting on. I'm counting on the teenagers. They are flexible, they're not rigid, and no black and white, and I think that it's good to be a teenager. But just remember, there is a book written for the parents of teenagers. You want to know what it's called? Get Out of My Life, but first, would you take me and Cheryl to the mall? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I want all the freedom, but no responsibility. That's a teenager.
Mhm.
It's temporary. It's temporary, and you can survive it. And thank God, that's what I said in Auschwitz. I don't like it. It's inconvenient, and it's temporary. So get rid of the yes, but, and say yes, and. Furthermore, you see, don't lock yourself in a concentration camp that is in your own mind,
Mm,
and the key is in your pocket.
mhm. So specifically, we're talking about this this power and this faith we have in our teens as the future ambassadors and leaders of the next generations. What we have this incredible opportunity to have this conversation with you. I'm still pinching myself that I'm here. I can't believe it. And I just I want to know, how can we, being that this is maybe the one opportunity they'll have to have such a close conversation with a Holocaust survivor. What can we do? What can you tell us, and what can we tell our teens in order to ensure that they pass on this story and the stories of all those who were lost in the Holocaust, and the details and the history of the Holocaust itself? How can we keep the story alive? How can we keep combating anti-Semitism and living with pride in our Judaism and in ourselves?
Well, I keep saying to people that people can unfortunately hate. And on January 6th, at the Capitol, I saw someone wearing a shirt that says 6 million wasn't enough. Now, I came to America after Nazi Germany and Communist Russia. And in 1949, I worked in a factory because I didn't speak a word of English. But when I went to the bathroom, one of them said, "Colored." How do you think I felt? That I came to America to find democracy, and what do I find? Prejudice. So I always went to the colored bathroom, and I pretended that I don't speak English, but then I joined the Black women, and I ended up marching with Martin Luther King. See, love is not what you feel, is what you do. That you're committed as you are now, Sunday afternoon. You could read romance novels, or God knows, you could go wherever, go shopping, but you're born alone. And there is something between birth and death called life. So you want to live a lifestyle or a death style? If you're drinking, part of your brain goes to sleep. And I worked with a Jewish boy at the big university in America, and he joined the fraternity and he almost died because you had to drink a certain amount. And that's a Jewish fraternity. What kind of stupidity is that? Jewish people survived because they had the brain power. It's better to check out the movie called The Karate Kid, because the best power is brain power. See? And then you go to the library rather than going to the bar. Now, so I ask people to have a balance in life, working, loving, and playing, that you don't procrastinate. Do you procrastinate? If you are, chances are you are a perfectionist. And when my granddaughter invited me to her class, the teacher called her my little red caboose. I don't like labels. I don't like what is going on there. And my granddaughter was in a class where the IQ started at 145, a very special class for very high IQ kids. But she was packing up. She was ready to go out of that class because she didn't think she can make it cut the mustard. So I had a talk with my Lindsay. She must have been not more than 10 or 11 years old. So, you know, you have to put the cookies in a certain place where I get across to her. And I told her that the teacher does not have a right to label her. Whatever I did it good because she went back to school. She went to school to a place in La Jolla, a very special school, and it's called Bishop School. And she asked me to buy her a dress so she could go to a dance. And so I did. I always buy good clothes, designer clothes, because my father told me, when you grow up, you'll be the best dressed gal in town. So I love the Zoom. All I have to do is put on a good scarf and I'm done. Anyway, she went back to school. And when it came to writing letters to colleges, you have to buy your autobiography, and get was her title, When a Caboose Became an Engine. And she went to Princeton and graduated with honors. She got a PhD at UCLA. Anyway, she's now a doctor, a professor of psychology. What else? So I think it's good to have a goal. I think it's good to have a goal. I like to call it the arrow that you follow. Because if you go around and go too many places, you divide yourself, and then you end up not being in one place 100%. So I like you to be realistic, but not idealistic. You can have everything, but not at the same time. How old are you?
Oh, Edie, yeah. So one thing we are realizing is a lot of the teenagers on the call, they haven't read your book, so they don't know your story of, and maybe have never heard firsthand the story of Auschwitz and how you were taken with your family and what you experienced there and what the days living through that actually were like. And that personal story, I think, will have such an impact on them. And as we talk about them continuing the story on, I think, being ambassadors for the story, hearing your personal experience, I think would be such a lasting impression on them. If you could just kind of go back and retell that story for them, I think they will remember it always.
Well, I'm going to take you back to 1944. And I must say that there never in the history of mankind such a scientific and such a systematic annihilation of people existed. When 15 highly educated people got together celebrating that they can put 30,000 Jews in the oven in one day. It's called the final solution of Eichmann, and I'm part of that. So, let me begin. My middle sister, Clara, was the only Jewish girl accepted in Budapest, and her Christian professor smuggled her out and hid her until the end of the war. So I was talking to 2,800 people in New Zealand in 1985, celebrated the children of wonderful survivors and the survivors who were risking their lives to save Jewish lives. And I must mention it every time. So my father got up and kissed us on our heads
After the Seder.
after the Seder. And so we go and lie down, and a couple hours later, banging on the door, and they took us away. They took us away in Kassa, Hungary, and they put us in a factory, a brick factory, and that's when my boyfriend and I were trying to me whether I have pretty hands and beautiful eyes. That helped me. I said to myself, if I survive today, then tomorrow I'm going to be liberated. But when we arrived, I saw a sign called Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. So my father said to us, not to worry, we're just going to work and go home. But that's not what happened. Anybody under 14, every mother with young children, anybody over 40 automatically were taken to the gas chamber. So when I was following my mother, when Mengele pointed her goat to the left and my sister and I to the right, he grabbed me. Never forget those eyes. And he said to me, you're going to see your mother very soon. She's just going to take a shower. And pretty soon I was thrown to the other side, and there was a couple. A couple was a most of all Polish people who were the first ones to come to Auschwitz. And I was one of the last ones. I'm part of the final solution. So she took her anger out on me and pulled out my earrings, and I was bleeding. And I said, I would have given it to you, but when will I see my mother? And she pointed at the chimney with the fire coming out. And she said to me very, very coldly, your mother is burning there. You never see your mother again. And my sister Magda hugged me and said, the spirit never dies. So that's why when you're asking me, why am I here and why am I talking like that? Because I know that most people want to forget such a thing. And it's very painful. I consider it my duty. But my Magda, who was the pretty one, we were completely shaven. So imagine I'm looking at my sister, she's looking at me, and she says, how do I look? Now, I had a choice then, And you have a choice now, teenagers, that you point out what you lost, or maybe something that is still here, right? That's why it's good not to cover garlic with chocolate. It doesn't taste good. You have to kind of deal with it. So anyway, I looked at Magda and came to the realization that I became her okay. Ask yourself, is it kind? Is it necessary? Because God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we would talk less and listen more. Sometimes we just say too much. I never answer a question, how are you? So one of my students, when I was professor of psychology, told me that he was told that people are hearing, but they're not listening. And I said, okay, let's test it out. And so tomorrow morning, you're going to pick up your books and someone is going to say hi to you. And you say, my mother died this morning. Oh, great. I'll see you later. We proved it that people are hearing but not listening. Some people are just automatic. How are you? Fine. And I used to ask my patients, and they were suicidal. Then I realized I'm asking the wrong question. So the next time, no more questions. I say, geez, good to see you. I missed you. So think before you say anything. Is it kind? Is it very important? We talk too much. And it's better if we listen more. When I danced for Dr. Mengele, at the end, he gave me a piece of bread. And I had a choice then, as you have a choice now. I could have eaten that bread. I was so hungry. But I looked up, I was on a 3rd place up there. I don't know if you ever see those barracks.
Bunk beds.
The bunk beds, yeah. So I was able to climb. I was a good gymnast, and I shared the bread. It turns out that in April 1945, when I was on a death march from
Mauthausen.
Mauthausen to Gunskirchen, if you stopped, you were shot right away. I revisited that place, every place, including Auschwitz. And the girls that I shared the bread with saw me slowing down, and they came and imagined holding their arms and carried me so I wouldn't die. Isn't it amazing that the worst conditions can bring out the best in us? And that's what happened in Auschwitz. I found love in Auschwitz because all we had was each other then, and all we have.
That's a beautiful response, I think, to anti-Semitism and hate in any generation is just love and continue to rely on each other and connect as Jews and as family to keep loving each other, and that can, and supporting each other, and that could really help us push through.
Because, it's easier to die than to live. I was very suicidal. After I was liberated, I was put in the bed and they put me in a cast. So I could hardly breathe. I know I could not laugh. When I laughed, I had a tremendous pain here. So I didn't know how to laugh. But also reality hit me that when I got up in the morning, my parents didn't come back. My boyfriend died a day before liberation, reality hit me, and I just wanted to die, and I became very suicidal. But I like to tell you that I think that I was chosen to be here with you today and celebrate that my ancestors didn't have it as good as I do, and they never gave up. Never gave up. Never gave up. They were slaves. They were taken out of Egypt. They were in a desert for some years, I don't know. But you see, it's easier to die than to live. So why don't you think that there is a little girl in you who's crying and say, I want a good mommy. I want someone who really would love me. And you show up for that girl. Because I want you to divorce your parents. The sooner, the better. Really, just say thank you. Thank you for schooling me. And you know what? I'm going to try to find a job while I go to school, because I understand that people who work and go to school do better than just going to school. Now, I'll show you numbers on that. That is much better if you can conquer something on your own, even if it takes a child an hour to tie the shoe and takes you 2 minutes. Don't do for a child what a child will need to conquer something that I did it. I have now twins. I have twins. My grandson and his wife gave birth to little boys, Noah and Dylan, and they're just starting to walk. They go now everywhere. So here it is. Can you see?
So cute.
Adorable.
Thank you. So I am celebrating every moment is precious to me. Every moment is precious. I don't throw away food too easily. I usually eat up everything on your plate, and I cherish every moment in life. And I'm so happy that I can talk to you as a good role model. Again, children don't do what we say, they do what they see.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible gift for us to hear you. I think we're all looking for community now, and for support, and for Edieisms for sure. It feels like a very scary time for the world, for our Jewish teens, for ourselves as a Jewish community. There's a lot of hatred and anti-Semitism that's sparking and upsurging, and I think we're all feeling a little lost and uncertain.
Yes, I think we are very, very divided, and hopefully that we want to be for something rather than against. And I'm for life, and I'm for hope, and I will never ever give up. I will find a way to somehow be a good role model to you, and hopefully that this too shall pass. I'm very sorry what is going on right now in Israel, and I know that all the presidents try to make peace, and I'm certainly hoping that we form a human family, that you can be you and I can be I, but together we're going to be much stronger than me alone and you alone.
Thank you.
No, are there, unless there's in the chat, any other questions that anyone had? Oh, there's a lot of gratitude,
Yes.
Edie, in
Yes.
the chat. Thanking you for your for sharing
I-
your time and your wisdom,
Wisdom.
and your love with everyone.
It feels
Thank you.
good. It's balm for the soul.
I also want to tell you that if you're a child of an immigrant or a grandchild of an immigrant, there are many things what happens to immigrants' children. We parentize them. They become the parents of the parents. See, they go to the grocery store, they bring home tuna fish, they bring home what is called
Peanut butter.
peanut butter. Peanut butter. I never had a peanut butter in my whole life. My little girl came home and showed me peanut butter because she got peanut butter in the little school that she was while I was working in a factory. So I think it's very important to look at the ages and stages of your development, because many times when you come to America, you have to go and make a living, and you do anything you can to be able to pay the rent. And life was very hard when I came to America in 1949. But thank God, my name is Dr. Edith Eva Eger. And when I was on the advisory committee for the Veterans Administration, and I went to there 6 years, and every time we left the Holocaust Museum, I said, I'm not going there. I've been there, done that, nothing. Okay, but what happened after 6 years? I came in Sunday, I didn't have anything to do. I went to the Holocaust Museum. And that's why I developed my whole theory, not to run from the past and not to fight the past, but face it and do the unresolved grief as I did. So you can be free from the prison that we create in our own heads. Today, I won't do that, what I did then, but I didn't want my children to be different. I just wanted to be a Yankee Doodle dandy like you. No, it's okay to be you. That's why I revisited Auschwitz. I asked my sister to come with me, and she told me I'm an idiot. And on the top of that, I'm a masochist. She was with me the whole time, different responses. If we had more time, I would talk to you the difference between reacting and responding. If I would have reacted, I wouldn't be here, because people who touched the guards, they were shot right away, right in front of me. And people who touched the barbed wires were electrocuted, and I saw the blue body. So be careful, not react, but take a deep breath and ask yourself, is it worthy of a conversation? Otherwise, you say, thank you for your opinion.
Edie, I think it might be a good idea to tell that story about reacting or responding. And I think that it's timely right now, that it is becoming, because I think that's part of what we all have to do. We have to listen to people who are upset. So maybe tell that story.
I was in Texas, and someone came to see me and sat down, and he told me that he's a boot boy. I don't know anything about boots, but in Texas it's a big deal, the boots. And he told me I'm a boot boy, and I said, oh. So I acknowledged the boots, and then he got up. He put his elbow on my desk and he said, hey, Doc, it's time for America to be white again, and I'm going to kill all the Jews. And then all the niggers.
No, don't say that.
Not that one.
No, N-word.
The N-word. And all the Mexicans and all the Chincos. This is what I remember. Okay, now if I would have reacted, I would have taken that boy. I would have shaken him up. I would have taken him to the corner. I would tell him, how dare you talk to me like that? I saw my parents going to the gas chamber. But I was taught to create an atmosphere that people can feel any feelings without the fear of being judged. So I went to God because people don't come to me, they're sent to me. And I said, God, what's the meaning of death? And God said, find the bigot in you. And I said, that's impossible. Because I worked in a factory and I always went to the colored bathroom. And I ended up marching with Martin Luther King in 1963. With the mamas and the papas, check it out. We shall overcome. You know, you can show that to the young people that people are good, basically good. I know many people call me the Anne Frank who didn't die. And she writes in her diary, I'm looking outside and I see nothing but hate and murder. And I still believe that people are basically good. Well, I'm glad that people call me the Anne Frank who didn't die. So anyway, what I did, I sat down, I took a deep breath, and I created the atmosphere. And I looked at him as kindly as I could. You know, I can kill you with my eyes, and I can love you with my eyes. You can take your temperature several times a day. Do I feel soft and warm or cold and stiff? You are in control of your thinking, your feeling, and your behavior. So I said to that young boy, tell me more. He never knew who I was, where I came from, nothing ever knew. But then I did the mommy thing, and I realized that I'm going to refer him to a male, to a man, preferably with gray hair, some man who's been around, and that's what I did. He never knew who I was, nothing. And that is hard to do. When you look at the guards in Auschwitz and you turn hatred into pity, that they're wearing a uniform, throwing children into the oven without even gassing them, that is very, very, very hard. But here you are, keeping it alive, and hopefully that you carry that with pride when you look in a mirror and you know that you were sent here to do good. So that's why I call you ambassador for peace and goodwill. That's how I call the young people. I'm counting on you.
Thank you. This has given us a lot of hope and a reminder of the pride we should feel in ourselves and in as Jews and as humans, and the courage to do the right thing. So thank you so much, Dr. Edie, for having the time and sharing your wisdom with us today. It's really a gift.
Thank you so much. I think really so inspiring to everyone on the call, Edie. So thank you as always.
I'm very, very much honoring you for knowing that we are good people and we never regret what you do. You regret what you don't do. So I came to honor you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you so
Bye
much for
bye,
watching. Bye. Thank you all for joining, everybody.
Give my love, please, to anyone, your family, and I love you very
Oh, we love you, Edie. And I know Bumba, he's smiling right now. I think his eyes are twinkling. Thank
Bye.
Bye.